Hey everybody, welcome to Willows Bend. My name is Donna Gorton, and tonight we are going to be discussing the Ouija board and the rules for it, as well as other types of divination tools and kind of how to use them, just to kind of get a sense of it, because there is so much misinformation out there, fear of them, etc., that uh, I think should be dispelled. And a lot of it is simply learned fear rather than true understanding of a tool. And I'm not going to change one's background belief in something as far as a fear of it. I'm not going to undo that, but hopefully can pass on a greater understanding of especially the Ouija board, because there's so much fear about that surrounds that. So we're going to review the rules of it and stuff. It is an older show I did back October 18th of 2019, but it was in another group that I did it in. So I think I shared it in my group, the Willows Bend, on Facebook back then, but it's been a while, and a lot of newer members are following me now that didn't back then. And we also are going to be touching on, let's see, scrying and Napoleon's Book of Fate. And if there's time, also on like palm reading and so forth. We'll see what we have time to do, but that's the goal anyway. So all that different divination tools, pendulum, etc. So, holy cow. Can you guys hear that roaring on air? That is the wind out there. I knew there was a high wind advisory, but dang. So it's like 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts out there, I guess, or 60, something like that. Okay. I always get nervous with that. So hopefully I keep power. That will be a good thing, right? So let's do it up as long as we can anyway. Hopefully we won't have any issues. So as always, no drama, no disrespect or rudeness is going to be tolerated. Zero tolerance on all of that stuff. And my Facebook group likes to have me do this kind of circle of protection for everybody. So I like to start each show by doing that. So with the sage, I cast a circle of protection around all viewers, and that no negativity of any kind is allowed to enter into the show or the viewers who are watching and participating in the Facebook group, and any of the listeners out there who are listening via YouTube or radio or online for that matter. And may that protection against any negativity or ill will follow each and every one of you into your own personal lives after the show ends, and anyone who watches after the show is over as well. So I also sage the stones of all energy except for their own, with the hopes they will work with mine. And of course, we have my toothless dragon, Willoughby, up top. Jake's beside me. We can do him as well. Before my sage burns out. Sage, I cleanse my puppy of all energy except for his own, with the hopes that he will work with mine. Stubborn old ox. And little girl's way in the corner. We'll get you too, baby girl. There we go. All right. So I will it. So mote it be. There. That's done and out of the way. So hi to everybody and welcome in my Facebook group, the Willows Bend, who are watching. That's the chat I tend to monitor, because even if I go onto YouTube for the chat in there, it tends to be the same group of people. My Facebook crew follow me over to YouTube, so it's just easier for everybody if I do it in a group. So I got that beside me. So if you see me looking down over there, that's what I'm doing, is watching my chat. Excuse me. So to welcome to everybody over there and anybody new who's coming in. Thank you, Chris. And welcome to Ashra. Haven't seen you in here before, so welcome. Hope you enjoy the show. And here's our Willows Bend little mascot, Stone Willowsby, which the group helped me name. It's obsidian, for those who don't know, for protection. And he kind of watches over everything up above. So autocorrect is always drunk, Chris. We know that. All right, so then let's get this started. Oh, and for anybody listening anywhere globally, I want to thank you for tuning in to Summer Fusion um, Media, and you can find us everywhere basically that you want to be, most social media groups, YouTube, Facebook, MeWe online. You can go on the web and do it, and view us there as well. Summer-fusion.com is the website. Check it out, and all the other shows that are on there. We are all about promoting unity and supporting women in a male-driven career choice area. We don't at all bash men. We allow men. We love our men. As long as they're not toxic or towards us or others, we're good. So, and if anyone is also interested in calling in, the phone numbers are listed right below the video. You can see it right across the screen at the bottom there. The live call-in number is phone number area code 929-436-2866. Meeting ID number you enter when prompted is 522-657-2748. So there we go, everybody. And with that, let's get started here. So welcome to everybody who is watching, listening, and viewing anywhere in the world. So let's start with Ouija boards, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background history of how it came about and started, and like the history of the very first early. They weren't called Ouija boards originally, of course, but how it evolved, and then go into the rules for using one, because that's where so many people have had negative experiences with them when they have had them, is they were using them incorrectly. There are rules to go by with this stuff. And if you're not, you're not using or following the rules for it, it's just like, and it's just another means to communicate with the other side. And I get that people are taught how that they're evil, sinful, bad, wrong, etc., through religious foundation of beliefs and so forth. And I am not here at all to bash anyone's beliefs or otherwise, but many people have never even used one and still have that fear based on stories that they've heard from other people without ever having experiencing it, researching it for themselves, or learning what the rules are in before going and trying to use it. So that's where problems can happen. And with every device, every method of divination, again, there's rules to follow before using it, and it has to be done respectfully, maturely, and responsibly. And when it's not, well, you guess what? You can have stuff happen, unexpected, and even perceived as negative because of that. So let's try to teach some of the right ways of using these tools and to give you a greater understanding in them, and as we proceed, and just talk about the different kinds of divination out there, all of which are just tools to communicate with the other side. Now, that said, not every tool will work with every individual. Some don't work with anybody. It doesn't, for me, I am a psychic medium, and I consider myself first and foremost the actual tool for communication. I am the portal for which they speak through. You can kind of look at it in those terms, that I am the communication device, essentially. I don't need those other tools, but they do add another element in giving connections for people and information and stuff. So that's how I view it anyway. But so let's see. Exactly, Ashra. A lot of people haven't. Sandy, she may have lost track of time. Someone could tag her in it, but I'm sure she's fine. And anytime she's ever been late before, it's that she just didn't realize the date or lost track of time. But anyway, yeah, she's usually fine, and she is always here. So, hi, Natalie. All right, so the Ouija board, the origins of it is shrouded in mystery, really. Thank you, Tanya, for tagging her. It's first mentioned of something resembling a Ouija board was found back in China around 1200 BCE, which stands for before current era. And now the first patented, quote, talking board was sold and created in the late 1800s by Elijah Bond, who was a businessman, and Charles Kennard, who was an attorney of all things. Thank you, Sandy, for messaging her. I'm sure she'll be in. So an attorney and a businessman are the ones who create the form of the board that we know and use today. Excuse me. So they probably didn't invent it, but saw a way to make money off of it by patenting the idea. Modern Ouija boards were developed by inventor William Fuld, who sold his patent to Parker Brothers in 1966. Boards usually have the letters of the alphabet inscribed on them, the numbers 0 through 9, and the words yes, no, and goodbye on them, as well as the sun and the moon in each respective corner, so that, you know, that's part of the communication. They can allude to what time of day it is or otherwise, if that happens to pertain to a question. The planchette is the playing piece, if you will, for it. There's our Sandy. I knew she was probably just running behind or lost track of time. Sandy is goes all the way back to when I has never missed an episode yet in all of the 100, almost 200 episodes I've done now. So yeah. She's my memory banks for a lot of the older shows. The way it supposedly got its name is interesting too. Absolutely, Astra. So now the planchette that you use is the piece that you place your fingers on very, very lightly when using it. It's usually made of wood or plastic and is shaped like a teardrop with a hole in the middle up top. It's round, and the tip of it is the pointer. And now some believe that the Greek Pythagoras put forth talking boards back in 540 BCE, but original origins. Yeah. Oh, we're here. We kind of started probably by 5 after anyway, Sandy, by the time the music was done. You know, always just come hang out in a group, and I'm always in here. Or you can go to the Soma Fusion Facebook page and see it there too. But yeah, always come hang out in the group, and it will start. Once it starts, Katie usually shares it into the group, and then I approve the post and get it started for you guys. So, FYI. So the very, very most original origins for the Ouija board have yet to be discovered. But again, the earliest known resemblance of a Ouija board was found in China. So that's kind of usually accepted as the beginnings of it. Probably, you know, I was actually surprised in doing the research that it didn't originate in the Egyptian culture in some way, but apparently not. Now, most stories have been made for publicity or just plain misinformation, but they gained popularity in the age of spiritualism, which got its start in March of 1848 with the now famous, quote, Fox sisters, which were a couple of sisters who used to discuss or hold sessions in their home, but later down the road, they came out as being fakes, that they had different systems rigged for different sounds and noises that could appear in the house. But back then, it used to tap out what, you know, the number of taps equaled what letter it was based on the alphabet, the English alphabet. So, you know, all the way to Z for 26 taps, which seems like an excruciatingly slow way to communicate, but it's how they did it. But again, they had little, you know, tricks for the knocks and stuff to make them happen. So, but they ended up going on and touring globally, and had a lot of fame come from that, of their sessions they would hold regarding the Ouija board. But again, sadly, they out of the gate they gave it a bad name by kind of coming out as fakes and frauds. But hey, Aaron, welcome. So during the second half of the 19th century, spiritualism reached its highest point, and with mediums started coming out of the woodwork, and they devised a number of ways to convince the living that they were for real, including table turning, table tipping, knocks to represent the different letters, as I mentioned a minute ago. Now, with the table tipping and turning, it would be literally, rather than sitting down in chairs at the table, they would stand around it and then place their fingers either at the very edge of the table or on the Ouija board planchette. And then the table would start to rock, or sometimes it was reported to levitate, move on its own, scoot across the room, what have you. So those were also ways that it was said that communication could occur. Another method involved using the planchettes with two wheels, one at one end and a pencil at the tip of the other to form the third leg. And questions would be asked, and a spirit would write out the answers. And that was believed to have also be moving the planchette. So it was a form of spirit writing. However, it was still kind of done in a Ouija board setting. So they didn't differentiate between the names of it, but it really is spirit writing, or automatic writing is another name for it. So the pencil would be in the planchette rather than holding it yourself and going into a trance. It would be in the planchette itself and then go and start making motions. Yeah, I've seen the table tipping as well, Sandy, and it is interesting. And so a lot of it, there are problems with those methods, with the knocking, the table turning, etc., is that it really, again, took too long to answer the questions, and people would get bored, and tired of waiting to go through each single letter to spell out a word in order, like the number of knocks to equal which letter it is, and then to figure out how many knocks corresponds to what letter of the alphabet it is. It's a very slow method to communicate. And so with the planchette writing, it often was too illegible to make out. Now, there were cases reported that were legible and were in answer to the question asked, which is very interesting. However, most of the time it was kind of too scribbly to make sense of. So it wasn't a practical way to communicate. So in the 1800s saw the reinvention of the Ouija board, like device being used in Ohio. William Fuld took over the Kennard Novelty Company, owned by Charles Kennard, who again was one of the original businessmen who first came up with the basic design of it anyway and patented it. And that made and sold the Ouija boards. But William Fuld really is the mastermind, if you will, for the design that we know about today. Did you have any outcomes coming from it, Nancy, that you felt were valid? She's talking about doing table tipping when she was younger. So a popular story created by William Fuld is the word Ouija is a combo of the word oui, which is French for yes, and ja, which is German for no. So literally the answer is, or the name of it means yes, no, from two different languages. So what does science say about the planchette movement? And for those who happen to be new to listening to me, watching me, whatever, I always try to present in my shows different viewpoints of the topic that is, the audience chooses the topic that's covered, except for the last few shows I've been choosing them. I had hand surgery done, and writing is still very difficult for me, so I'm going back and covering older topics, but they were picked by the audience originally, and then I go and research them as how it works. But I try to present different viewpoints on the topic, given from science, religion, etc., and having my opinion thrown in here and there interspersed. Hi, Kim. You do table tipping time in the UK. Awesome. So yeah, it is very interesting with the name. And it seems like it would be a little bit more mystical, but yes, I mean, just literally yes, no. So science about the planchettes movement says that they are created not by spirits, but by something entirely human called idiomotor affect, or automatic muscular movement, which is saying basically that through its small human, like fine motor skill movements, muscle spasm, twitches, etc., that are making it move, and not communication through the spirit, but how at that point it doesn't really explain how that is spelling out messages that are pertinent to the questions asked and so forth. So, it kind of leaves that unanswered. Hi, Mary. Welcome. Um, Science always tries to come up with a valid explanation. They haven't pierced the veil of the other side yet. So, um, they're going by, is the result reproducible within the lab, depending on whoever's doing the experiment, is really what they base it off of. Gary is saying, I also had many experiences with Ouija board in the UK. Yeah, nice. Hi, Karen. So, what are the rules for using a Ouija board? Now, again, all of the misinformation out there, the fear building, and it's most people who are deathly afraid of it have never tried using it or state that they never ever would mess with one. But it really is coming from everyone else's alleged stories and interaction with one. But when things go wrong, it's based off of the misuse of the board and not understanding what the rules are. When one follows the rules of it, it's no different than any other form of communication. It's when you screw it up that things go wrong, like with everything, really. Think about it. And anything one does, if you're not doing it correctly, well, yes, it's going to go wrong. Obviously, no brainer there, right? But most people aren't even aware that there are rules. And because in the United States, at least, this was marketed as a game originally. So, parents were buying it for children who thought it was neat. They're breaking it out and just starting having at it. Well, then, of course, there is no comprehension at that point that, no, it really isn't a game. It's not really, it shouldn't have ever been marketed as a game, and given free access by children to have at it, because they're not going to have any comprehension of the whole rule system thing for it. And the rules aren't included in the board itself when you go out and buy a board. These are not in there. So, I mean, I searched out online in many different sites to validate that these are the rules for it. Kim says, and must we say, no, everything is energy, but it's more than that with table tipping. We do connect with spirit. We have to be respectful at all times. Absolutely. I agree completely. So there are a total of about, I believe it's like 20 rules. Yes, there's 20 rules to using the Ouija board. So let's get started into those. Excuse me. And again, hopefully, I'm sorry, my allergies have been bad the last couple of days. So I took allergy medicine. I'm still kind of snuffly. So bear with the post-nasal drip crap and snufflies. So hopefully by the time we're done, one will have a greater understanding of how they're meant to be used and see how, if one did follow the rules with it, less incidences would go wrong with it, right? So the first rule is don't insult the spirit. Be respectful at all times, like we just mentioned. One, we want to be treated with respect, and just because you're dead, well, that shouldn't stop. Or if you're dealing with a higher being, then yeah, be respectful. They have a whole lot more knowing than what we have in a human form, so one should be respectful. Yeah, that's why I thought it would be neat to redo this topic, Sandy, because it hasn't been done, and it was originally done in Willows Wisp. So it was replacing when it was like episode number 4 after I started my show. So way back. So it's been a long time since I covered the topic, but yeah, it's been quite a while. So I thought I'd pull this one out. Plus, there was so much interest in discussing it after the last show, as doing it as a topic. You guys wanted it, and I try to accommodate you guys. It's no different than doing spirit box, same principle. Correct, says Kim. Renee said, I lost my notebook. I had all the rules in it. Well, get your paper and pen out now, lady, and you can write them down as we go. So the first one is to be respectful at all times. Don't be rude, or you can attract negative spirits. Now, part of it is setting your intention to not allow anything negative to come through. And that if something should start to show as being or feeling negative, well, you stop the session, close it out, and start over again, and then reset your intention to only allow positive energies to come through. Like, it's not rocket science with that. It's not talked about enough about the rules. No, and that's why I had covered it a couple years ago, Kim, is to bring that awareness out, and doing it again too for everybody. So don't insult the spirit. Don't be rude and disrespectful. Same thing, treat them how we want to be treated. We don't want to be treated rudely and disrespectfully, so don't do it to them. So do not play alone. You're not supposed to do it alone. Now, some people can and do, and I've seen it done. However, you have to be careful and make sure that you have a safe boundary set up around you, like sage to space down, and set your intentions that it is just you and nothing negative can cross that boundary line to enter into the session. But again, if something should, you close it out and start over again. Kim asks, so what do you think about people doing Ouija board when they're intoxicated or been drinking alcohol or drugs? Well, that's part of the rules, Kim. So we'll get to that one. So you're not supposed to play alone. When you're alone, you're more vulnerable and negative spirits may push to enter in. Number 3, never use the board if you're sick, drunk, depressed, or mentally unstable, because you can be more vulnerable to attack at that time. Exactly. Balance of energy protection. So don't do it if you're in any way vulnerable energy-wise with being sick or under the influence, because then you're not going to be on top of remembering the rules, setting your boundaries, and not allowing stuff in, and it's going to be more open to anything negative coming through. So again, if something should start to, you close it down, shut it out, and push it away, saying, I will not tolerate anything negative entering this space. And that's it. That's your rule. That's your intention when doing it. And then nothing negative is going to be able to come through. But people don't put that stop on there when something starts to come through, or they like the kind of creepy, spooky factor when something does start to come through that might not be as nice. And so they keep going to see where it's going to go, which is a mistake. So number 4, do not force anyone to use it against their will. If someone voices they're not comfortable doing it, don't go in and push them to do it through pressuring them and oh, come on, just play and it's all right, no big deal, don't be a wuss. Don't do that to people. If they're not comfortable doing it, then respect their wishes and don't push them into it. For attachments with what, Sandy? So number 5, don't use the Ouija board in a cemetery or any location where a murder or an unnatural death has occurred. It could cause a terrible manifestation of a playing out of the crime that happened or the death that happened that was violent or unnatural in any way. And it could, stir them up. And a lot of them, they don't want to be reminded of that stuff and having to play it out again. So and in the Ouija board, now granted, I'm the first one who says that most spirits don't hang out in the cemetery. Now there may be some and a few there at any given time, but most choose not to hang out there, because why would you? If you could go anywhere you want in any dimension or realm, why would you choose to stay there? It's kind of a depressing place. Those that do are more interested in having peace and quiet and to be left alone, so that's why they stay there. Kim says, I see so many people do it when under the influence. It's so wrong. Also, I see a lot of spiritual readers, healers, also when under the influence, my respect goes out the window. Correct. And that's in violation of the rules. So, number 6, don't trust a spirit. If a negative spirits will use lies, flattery, etc. to gain your confidence. You don't truly know who you're talking to. So, you really don't have any evidence or hard proof that. So if somebody says my name is Joe William blah blah blah, you don't have any evidence to prove that that is who they are. So just keep that in mind, that you don't know for sure, and whatever they say, or they start trying to woo you and say a bunch of positive things to you and so forth, or know in-depth personal information about you, you got to take that with a grain of salt to know that you can't prove that they are who they say they are. And yeah, if you don't obey the rules, you can open a doorway to allow negative stuff in that can have an influence on things. Now, number 7. Now, this one I'm not clear on why it's a rule, but it is nonetheless. Do not ask questions about God. Now, I couldn't find any reasoning for that. That is one of the rules, though. So respect that, and not asking questions about God. It's pretty simple. Number 8, don't ask when you're going to die, because for one, any information that you are given through a spirit interaction or otherwise, it can change at any time. It's given in the now moment based on where things stand right in that moment is being said. Any decision you make leaving that reading and going forward in time can change the outcome. So I often don't do stuff having to do with future things, because so many other things can change that. So I don't do a lot of future reading stuff. And if I do, I give that caveat that it's only for the now moment. Any choices you make from here out after you leave this space can change how it turns out. And if you know when you're going to die or how you're going to die, well, then you're going to either, some people go off the deep end and go whippy wild with their behavior and actions to a dangerous point, or hyper focus on that. And like, I have to accomplish everything at one time because I don't have any time left. And they can really get hyper focused on it to where it interferes with living their life. So, yeah, like I said, I don't really understand, Stacey, the don't ask questions about God part, but it is one of the rules. Satanic spirits can come over as the nicest spirits. Well, the idea of Satanism and satanic spirits really is a Christian belief. So I have a different view of that than the Christian view of it, but I'm not at all negating your belief in that if you choose to believe that, but that's not my view of it. Just throwing that out there, I guess. But negative, that's why I typically say negative, because there is a difference. But yes, they can come through it anyway and say whatever they want. So just be aware that there is truly no way you can know who it is you're talking to. You can't prove it. Now, afterward, you could go and do some research. If they happen to say when they died, what year they lived in, where they lived, you can go research it and see, is there any record of somebody by that name having lived in that time or place. But beyond that, you can't guarantee still that it's them that you're speaking to. I do remote viewing, but I always say that it can change any moment. Absolutely. So number 9, if you encounter a spirit called Zozo, stop playing. Many have encountered this and had bad experiences coming from it. And personally, I believe what Zozo is a tulpa, which is when you combine your thoughts, energies, and intentions on something, you can a created being can come from it that never was alive, certainly not human, it's never been alive, but it manifests in a negative way, and people end up believing in it, which lends energy to it, which reinforces the belief in it, which reinforces the fear factor in it. And so negative things can manifest from that. So if you, again, same idea. If you encounter something negative, shut it down. Well, if you encounter something that comes through calling itself Zozo, shut it down. We do paranormal. We always do the research. So important it is. Don't ask about God, as it might not be what you've been taught and may hurt mentally. Yeah, I suppose that could be the reasoning, Karen. So, mindful thinking is important, Kim. So number 10, hi, Stacy. If the planchette moves to the four corners of the board, it means you've contacted a more negative spirit. And again, shut it down. Say goodbye. You have to close out a board, you have to run the planchette over the word goodbye. Verbally say, I'm closing out this session, goodbye, as you run it over the goodbye word, and then release the planchette. And that closes the session out and disconnects from whoever you're talking to or what have you. So anything negative that comes through, do that, and it ends the session. It's quite simple. You can even re-sage down and stuff. Yeah, Zeppelin used Zozo, but it was so not with it. This is Zozo with two Z's, and it's thought to be some negative demon or something, and it's more of a tulpa, much like the Slender Man and the Momo and stuff like that. It's a tulpa. It's a created energy force that is based off of fear and negativity, so it manifests that way. But it's never been alive. It's never been human. So just shut it down and restart the session if you choose, and verbally state that nothing negative is allowed to enter your space. So let's see, where do we leave off? Number 11, if it moves in a figure 8 form, kind of the infinity sign, it means that the spirit is trying to take control of the board. So go to goodbye and run it across and end the session. It's another way to do it. I do this stuff all the time, Kim. So the audience in my show chooses the topics, and that's what I cover. And it's a majority rules vote. So we always vote on topics to do the following week, and that's how it's chosen. So Nancy, number 7 and 8. Number 7 was don't ask about God. Number 8 was don't ask when you're going to die. Okay. Number 12, if the planchette begins to count down through the letters of the alphabet or numbers, means the spirit's trying to escape from the board. Again, close out the session. Yeah, and that's so that they're trying to take control of the board. So shut down the session and start over. Number 13, don't let the planchette fly off or fall off the board, or a spirit could escape. Now, I don't know if that's valid as far as the spirit escaping the board. They're coming through and you're choosing to communicate through that, but it's not like they're trapped in the board to begin with. No, it's absolutely fine. That's why I was explaining how we work it in here, Kim, and you're welcome to any of the shows, of course. And for those who are in the group or are new to me, in the guides section, which is a tab that's underneath the group photo, there's a resource library of things as well, under different topic headings to make it easier to search out whatever you're interested in. Everything from spiritualism to gemstones and crystals to divination to numerology, just like kind of a little bit of everything. So, yep, Monday, 8 p.m. Thank you, Renee. So number 14, never leave the planchette on the board or walk away with the session still open, or it could allow a spirit through. So make sure if you're getting up, taking a break, whatever, close the session out. If you made connection to a certain spirit, you can always recontact them again if you have their name and ask them to come back through again. So, you're not limited by that, but just don't walk away leaving it open. Excuse me. And it's like opening a doorway. Well, of course, if it's open, they're going to come through. Can you post these rules? I've been having trouble writing them down. Yes, I can, Natalie. Absolutely. We can do that. So number 15, it is absolutely okay, Kim. So when you're finished, always say goodbye by sliding the planchette over it to close out the session properly. Number 16, never burn the board. So many try to get rid of it by burning. That is not the proper way to dispose of one. I can tell you how it is done. There have been cases reported where people burned it and it later turned back up in perfect condition by by their reporting. This is what happened to when they did burn it. They said that they claimed that it later turned up in perfect condition. People reported hearing an unearthly scream coming from the board. They reported it released a negative spirit into the environment of their home or wherever they were doing it in, that the board didn't actually burn at all. It just stayed intact in the fire. So if one has a board and they're not, they're freaked out by it, whatever, then all you have to do in order to get rid of it, left mine in the house when you moved, but as long as it was closed, then I suppose that's okay, Tanya. But to get rid of one, if you don't want to keep it, it's freaking you out because you're not following the rules or whatever. You're going to take a piece of fabric, cloth, some sage, which promotes positive energy. And if you are, say, Christian, you can put a cross in there. Whatever's, your belief and faith is, wrap it up in the cloth, tie it in with a string to hold it closed. Go out into a remote location unknown to anybody else and dig a small hole that it will fit into. Doesn't have to be 6 feet deep or something, but so it'll stay buried. You're going to put it in upside down, and that way it's said that any energy that is retained within the board that might be negative is going to go down into the earth rather than being released out into our realm on its own by coming up through the ground through the hole. And that's really all there is to it. So rebury it, and then don't keep going back and visiting it or whatever. But again, out in the woods, whatever, where it's not likely to be found by anybody. Got Linda one for Christmas one year and it disappeared before she used it. Oh, that's interesting. No, yeah, I can write out the rules and type them up in the group, Renee. No problem. We can do that later tonight. So you can also, and besides doing what I just described, you can break it into 7 pieces because 7 is a sacred number. Pour holy water on it and bury it. You can, again, wrap it in a cloth and bury it that way. In a remote area, like I said. Don't become addicted to using it. That's happened with a lot of people, that they get kind of obsessed with it and keep going back for more and more and more. It has to be handled respectfully. Control yourself with it. And I get it that it's exciting when something comes through and something happens with it, but at the same time, don't be addicted to it with anything. It's not healthy for anything to become addicted to. Yes, I do always post the replay everywhere when I get done with the show. Number 19, if it starts freaking you out, gasp, stop using it. Pretty simple, right? Don't keep using it if it's scaring you and freaking you out. It is, common sense with that, right? And we understand that not everybody has a healthy dose of common sense within them, but yeah, stop using it if it's freaking you out. Number 20, if your religions, it doesn't use it, and many religions believe that they're evil and have no exorcisms to cast out evil spirits of people they thought got possessed through the board. There are, again, it's like any other communication tool, really. It's not any different than any of the other tools except in the form and shape it's in, but it's still a communication tool, period. And so if one follows those rules, then you shouldn't have an issue with its use. If it is mostly common sense, absolutely. And if one follows that, then there shouldn't be a problem. Protect your space and make sure you don't leave it open and shut it down if anything negative comes through. All common sense things in moderation, doing the respect for it, and an untrusting and understanding that there absolutely is no 100% way to know in that place and time of using the board that is who you're speaking to. When a psychic medium connects to a soul being, like say in a one-on-one type of reading situation, yes, that's more, at least to me, a higher chance that you are getting and connecting to the person that you are seeking. However, in this situation, well, yes, you don't know. So Karen says, have you met the human race? That's not common for common sense. You're absolutely correct. And that's why I said that, obviously we know not everybody has a healthy dose of common sense. So that's why I verbally stated, if it starts freaking you out, stop using it. There's also a host of online Ouija board games that one can use and quote play. But I think, to me, the same rules should apply when using them. Don't overuse it. Don't, make sure your space is protected, and don't leave it as a door open by leaving that game open on your computer screen would be the equivalent of leaving the board open and walking away. No, you shouldn't be using it if you have no common sense. Absolutely. So those are the rules for using the Ouija board. All pretty basic, right? And common sense. And it can really be said, I think, that those same rules can apply to most divination tools in general. It's not, again, it doesn't have to be rocket science. It doesn't, and if you're not comfortable because of your religious beliefs and your upbringing, well, then just don't try using it. It's quite simple. But don't promote fear mongering amongst others by putting a scare into them. And 99.9% of the fear out there with them comes from not your own personal experience with it, but hearing somebody else tell a story about it. And, oh my God, no, I'm never messing with that. Dangerous, bad. And again, I don't expect knowing these rules is going to dispel that fear in those people, because they're more closed-minded individuals. But if you're going to use it, then yes, common sense, follow the rules. Simple. Unfortunately, people with no common sense don't realize that they don't have any common sense. There's the rub. Absolutely, Chris. Didn't even know there were rules until you started talking about the other week. Thank you. You're very welcome, Stacia. And it applies. A lot of those same rules apply to any form of divination. So, oh, you have good common sense, Renee. Stop it. So next, I figured, because, it doesn't really matter what order we go in tonight, we can talk a little bit about pendulums. Now, for me, pendulums don't respond to me. It doesn't matter what the stone is I use. It doesn't matter whether it's on a natural thread, string, strand, whatever. It doesn't matter. Any of that. They just don't work to me. Now, I, for one, have a good relationship with my guides, and once I gained the gift of opening up to where I could see and hear spirits, they said basically, well, you don't need those tools because you are the tool. You can see and hear us just fine. Well, I couldn't really argue with that, because I can, and that's true. However, I wanted to still have the experience to try it and see how it felt, how it worked. And yeah, pendulums, I have gone through and bought probably 15 different ones through the years and got zero response from any of them. Now, some people get a lot of active response from pendulums. Now, it is typically a stone that has kind of a point at the tip of it, but it doesn't have to be a stone. It can be a needle and thread. It can be anything that can dangle freely and loosely and is more lightweight, so it can move. For me, I was taught anyway to ask it, for the pendulum, what is its yes answer, what is its no answer, and what direction will it move, and for yes, what direction will it move for no. Now, some people do it also to where they will say move clockwise for yes and counterclockwise for no. You can do that. It's up to the individual and what they're comfortable doing. Natalie says, I've seen a woman use the pendulum and I saw her moving it right. And there are even those who have a wooden arm of sorts that it can sit on and dangle from freely, so that it kind of removes that aspect of your arm jittery, your twitching, and that is hard to control, to keep your hand and arm completely still so that you're not influencing it. Sandy says, my chakra necklace goes crazy in my hand. Yeah, for some people, it's bloody brilliant and works great. Can use anything in the old days. Wedding rings, yep, those were used too. I have to keep my pendulums in my bed, and if I want to work with it, I place it in my bra for a little while, or I don't get much response. It's the skin on, again, skin contact with it that personalizes it to your energies, how I was taught. I have several, by the way. I just haven't researched how to use them. Yep. Well, that's why we're talking about it, sweetie. A button and thread, absolutely. Like I said, it can be on a needle and thread. It can be anything that can hang freely down and move. It's more lighter weight. That's, it can be anything that you want to use in the moment. And some people even have a mat or a board that they use with it that looks similar to a Ouija board, to where it can swing towards the letter, or kind of pull towards which letter is the right letter, and then it spells out what the answer is. But most people just do it for yes or no questions, and well, that's kind of would be the point of using it, though, Sandy, is to ask questions to get answers. I mean, well, yeah, asking, you don't have to be out loud because it's a telepathic thing. You can ask, if you are, using a stone or whatever, ask what it wants to be called, and then go with whatever name pops in your head and trust that that is what it is. And so you hold it up, basically, it hangs down, and, once you ascertain and set up what it's going to be for the yes or no answers, whether you're asking for it to show you or you are telling it to move clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on how you want to do it for the answers. And then you can ask the questions, but you do have to keep your hand very still, because even the slightest movements of your hand can, twitchings, muscle spasms, whatever, can make you jerk and influence the outcome. So it's an individual choice whether you like them or they work for you. For me, they don't work. If my guides weren't pranksters, people used to use a pencil and thread to tell if a pregnant woman's baby was going to be a girl or a boy. Yep, or their wedding ring on a string was another common way. Everything has energy. Be mindful of your intention, though, if reading for someone else. Absolute mindful thinking. Again, mindful thinking is paying attention to the thoughts that run through your head and making subtle changes to them if they are not aligned with your intention of what you want to be or where you want to end up being. Ow, Jade, don't kick. I am in front of you. You do recognize that, so get your foot out of there. Thank you. So, mindful thinking in all things is important, especially if you are walking a more spiritual path. So no matter what tool you're choosing to use, or even in your everyday life, being more mindful in what you're thinking about, catching yourself if you start to backtrack into more negative thinking, well, that's a good thing. Switching my power cord so that tablet doesn't run out. So that's really it for the pendulum. Now, there's also tarot cards that can be used, which are it's called an Arcadia, which it's kind of, if you equate it to playing cards, how you have ace, king, queen, jack, 10 all the way down to 2, and then the joker. Well, the Arcadias are like the clubs, the hearts, the diamonds. That's an Arcadia, and each one stands and has different numbers of those things in it. So and you can do tarot card readings with playing cards as well. But so say if you draw a Knight of Swords, and it's a number 8, so you may see 8 swords in a picture, and each one means it has different meaning associated to the image and what Arcadia it's in. And so you have to memorize all of that so that and can read the meaning of it when answering a question that you're doing. Yeah, that's what I do too, Sandy, and I've only been wrong a couple of times. Right, playing cards, exactly. So, and then there's also oracle cards, which I use. Tarot cards don't resonate with me well, so oracle cards do. They didn't used to. For many years, they would not work. And I finally kind of had to have an argument with my guides to say, look, you need to step out of the way and let me have this experience. And then randomly decided to try them one last time, and voila, they started working. So, and make of that what you will, but to me, I took that as they were moving back out of the way so I could try it. And someone stated it really well during a show I was watching that was doing readings where some skeptic had come in and was challenging the reader and being very negative in their comments and so forth. And they had mentioned how with using cards, whether it's tarot or oracle cards, that it's like if someone comes in and asks for a general reading, now that it usually it does involve the psychic part of your gifts. And hey, Gina, um, but when you have the cards, it kind of rather than standing at the head of a hallway that has 100 different doors in it, and you're kind of like, which door do I open first? It opens the door for you to start and help you tune into the person's energy to give them a reading based on their energy. So it's useful in that way, as it kind of gives you a jump start or a head start. But yes, technically one can do it themselves without the cards. It's just another tool that one can use. Yeah, dowsing rods. I've never used them with intention, but they can also be used to communicate and using them to find water, which is has been proven valid through many different cultures. Used to always use that to find and make a well. Exactly, it kind of gives you a visual on it, and again, it's like it's instead of standing in a hallway full of 100 closed doors, it opens a door of knowing where to start for the person and what to tune into. So with the dowsing rods, it has two handles. Usually they're wooden, and the dowsing rods tend to be metal. And you can use them for divination by which direction one of the rods will cross to. So, like, right can be yes, to the left is no. If it completely wings over to one side, it's a very strong answer in that direction. And it's said that a spirit is moving them to make the energy, and the wood is has a little bit of wiggle room over top of the rods on the handles, so they can move freely within the wooden, where your hand stays straight and then the rods can move side to side on their own. If they cross, it has another meaning. So but there also can be used to locate different things within the earth. So yep, hangers. Don't tell Grandpa did it when he was doing a well. Yeah, that is interesting, Natalie, with that deck the card that you got. I mean, I can't imagine sending someone one card, but okay. The old man helped me figure out where to drill for water with the rods for me here. Interesting, cool. Karen says, I use regular cards to read people, but I read their energy from the cards after shuffling. Absolutely. It's like opening a door to their energy and what to tune into for me. And then from there, you you do go by the image and what the image means and stands for from a psychological standpoint, etc. And then, but you're also tuning into their energy to pick up what you get psychically for the person and pass that along. Use the rods to find missing animals. Oh, I've never heard of that before. That's interesting. And with remote viewing, told the well digger where to dig our well. He said he doubt water would be there. Turned out the best place to dig. Awesome. See, you're amazing, Sandy. Hey, Jake, if you could stop stabbing my back, I would love you for that. Thank you. Hate it when he lays there behind me. Heard that with wood sticks and rain too. Yeah, you can use regular sticks. It's but it's good if you can have it like with the wooden handles to hold on to, and it has to be kind of have that 90-degree angle to the main rod so that they can move freely in which direction. So That's the important part with those. Now, she isn't into being psychic. I thought it odd, but still brought a blessing. I'll keep it and use it as a bookmark and a reminder. Nice. You are talking now, Gina. Yep. Didn't know you were. If you're typing it and hitting enter, it's going into chat. All right. So next, let's go into palm reading. This was a difficult show to do because of demonstrating through the illustrations and so forth what the different lines meant. But you are always welcome, of course, as with any topic I cover in the show, to go online for yourselves, look up the topics yourselves. Do not be afraid of the internet. Everybody always uses that as an excuse. I don't know what information to trust. I don't know where to start. Well, how about starting by entering a search into the search bar? That's where you start, and asking a question. And then from there, I use the general rule that if I get see the same information in 2 or 3 different sites, it's pretty good guess. It's safe to say that it's good information. Do a lot of foraging too, and rods I use to find mushrooms. Cool. Yeah, some people don't, Kim or Karen. I mean, but that is kind of the point of using them. Is the images usually mean something, or with oracle cards, they have a message on them. Oh, you know what, Sandy? I love the internet because, I mean, you have the world's all the libraries in the world are up on the internet. So if you can think of a question, you can find an answer to it. And of course, I love knowledge and research. So I'm always in and out of my browser throughout the day. When I think of a random question on a random topic, hey, go look it up. So don't be afraid of it. Go learn for yourselves. Don't wait for everybody to bring it to you. Palm reading is just the best. My old man taught me about the old gypsy palm is just the best. Cool. It's the intention you have with the rods. Yep. So the palm reading show I originally covered September 23rd of 2019, and this was, I think I did it in Willows Wisp, sorry. So with that, just to kind of explain that, when I was starting doing my show and the network I started out on, things didn't end well at the end, and when I left, she deleted the first 33 episodes off of her network, and I didn't realize that would also remove it everywhere I had it saved, including my group, and I lost those episodes. So in another group I was in, I redid them under the heading of Willows Wisp, just to delineate that those numbered shows were the missing ones. And then I actually continued the show on for a while after I replaced the initial missing 33 episodes, and did it for a while after. And then I kind of finally got to a point where it's getting a little bit much, and it just seemed like a redundancy to keep doing it. So I ended up stopping that. But the original 33 episodes were replaced. Unfortunately, when my group got targeted by Facebook, as somebody reported me for terrorist affiliation or some junk, then they deleted I lost the original group and all the archives. So there is no record of me having done these shows now anywhere on Facebook or stored anywhere else. So we're doing it again. There we go. So palm reading. Palm reading is the art or practice of supposedly interpreting a person's character or predicting their future by examining the palm of their hand. Now, I do have posted several things within the Willows Bend group under the guides tab, under divination, about like what the different lines on one's hand means, and seeing whether you have the different ones or not, and what the different marks can stand for and mean. So that stuff is in the group under the guides section. Now, for a while, the guides section stopped cooperating with allowing me to post stuff in there. After a while, I found that it let me make new topics. So I just did like a number 2 of each topic. It's all in there. Just scroll through it. You'll find it. It's pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, Facebook glitches and so forth. So the history of palm reading. palmistry or chiromancy. Now it's called the Willows, Ben. Correct. That was Karen's fault. She's the one who set up the new group. So yeah, she added the part. But bless her heart, because it allowed you guys to have your group back. So there you go. Thanks, Karen. So the history, palmistry is also called chiromancy, and it can be traced back many thousands of years to the Stone Age. Hey, Ramona, how you doing, beautiful? It's thought to have originated in India, and palmistry is thought to have been big among academics in ancient Greece as well. There are links to physicians using it and Aristotle having written about it. Aristotle is said to have sent his students to Alexander the Great in the 4th century BCE to India to learn what they could about it and bring it back. Love having you. You're always welcome. So by reading the lines and the wrinkles on your palm, it's said to tell you about your life and your future. So how do you do it? Most read your dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you'd read mostly your right hand. You're left-handed, well, self-explanatory, use your left hand. Whatever dominant hand you have, that's the one you tend to read first. Now, when you are doing palm reading, you start at the top of your hand to read the lines and move down. You start with the headline that begins on the right side of the hand and runs across. Now, I will use this. This is an original, lovely work of art I made when I first did the show. You can read anything, even to your dinner plate. Reading your dinner plate. In what way? Is it full? Does it have food or not? There you go. So here's a picture I used for the original show that I drew, traced my hand to in order to show you. So this line is your heart line. I know the writing is backwards, but I can read it. So this is your heart line here. This one is your headline. So it starts about there and works its way across. Then this one comes down off of it, and that is your fate line down here, like what's going to be your future. And this one is your lifeline, okay? So to translate, I took those, sorry for my oogie scabby stuff, took those from my own hand and drew out, where they're supposed to be and using them. So based off of that is how you can start out basic palm reading. When you finish eating the remains of what's left on your plate. Exactly. So you start with the headline that begins on the right side of the hand and runs parallel. So the second one down here is your headline here. Okay. The main lines of the palm. Now the heart line tells the reader about love, attraction, and your emotional side. The headline tells readers about your mind and your intellectual side. The lifeline tells the reader about your health, will, and vitality. And it doesn't tell about longevity, though. Now, it also can incorporate your finger lengths into it. Those have meanings as well. So with the finger length, if you have long fingers, oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, accepting and having faith and trust is a huge thing. And with doing any sort of reading of anything, that the answers you're getting are not coming from you. You're not crazy. You're not telling yourself what you want to hear. They are valid answers. So when reading the length of your finger length is, if you have long fingers, you are supposed to be interested in stories, details, and events, like to pick apart ideas before deciding on an action. You tend to be more nurturing than short-fingered people are. Yep, very common amongst the gypsy population. So it's supposed to be more nurturing than short-fingered people are. Now, if you have shorter fingers, it is said that you don't need as much information from the outer world as do long-fingered people. You can go more on your intuition. Don't look for advice from others as much. Um, you take more action. You're more action oriented, and you don't like or want lengthy explanations from people. Can be challenged for them not to jump to conclusions or to take action first. Open fingers. So when you open your fingers up, all the way, spread them out. People who display their hands more open fingered way. So like when your hands are relaxed, how do you hold your hands? Are they more open fingered or are you closed and tight and holding them that way? I got short fingers but long ties, short stubby fingers. Well, do you find that description fits you, Sandy, for the short fingers? Hi, Mary. Welcome back. Long toes. I don't think it goes into the toes in the research I did, but I'm sure I know I've seen posts alluding to the fact that you can tell what population or race of people that you came from originally based on your toe configuration and shape and length. Cool. So if you hold your hand in a more, naturally in a relaxed way where your fingers are more open, that's supposed to be people who display their hands like that they feel safe and secure most of the time. They're more free-spirited people with live and let live attitudes, which I find accurate. If you hold your hand in a more closed way most of the time, then when you do that, hold your fingers tightly together, and your palm is open, it's a sign that a person feels unsafe and are not receptive to new ideas. If fingers are really stiff, then they are resistant to change. Your fingers are longer than your palm. Interesting. So not everybody has that fate line that we talked about, which is it comes down off of your headline. So pen instead. This one is the headline here, and the fate line is, if you have it, it comes down there, but not everybody has it. Okay, this again, it just says life, although it looks scribbly. That's what it says. So wrong page. Stiff fingers to me means cold hands, right? I could, but you right. Back to where I was here. If you have one on your dominant hand, the fate line, but not on the other hand, it means you've taken fate into your own hands. If you have a short fate line or no fate line, it means that you feel free to take a break and redirect your energies at any time. Having a very deep fate line means that you're strongly controlled by your destiny. If the fate line joins into your lifeline, you're more of a natural entrepreneur and have the power to be self-made. So going back to the drawing, tracing of my own hand. So if this fate line keeps going down until it meets the lifeline, then that is what that is supposed to mean about the entrepreneur and stuff. But again, not everyone has that line. Now, this is traced directly from my hand of where my lines are. So I do have the fate line on that hand, and I simply label them based on which one is which line. So yeah, that was mine. Mm-hmm. Yep, not everybody has one, and there's nothing wrong if you don't. Let's see. So if your fate line joins your lifeline, you're a natural entrepreneur and you have the power to be self-made. If it starts at the base of your palm, you find yourself in the public eye a lot. If the fate line stops at the headline, you tend to become bored with a lot of rules and restrictions and responsibility. If your fate line stops at your heart line on your right hand, you let emotions and personal relations rule your business decisions. The heart line symbolizes matters of, so again, the heart line is the top one. This is your headline. This is the fate, and that's life. Just to re-clarify which line is which, where. Mm-hmm. Right away left off. The heart line, it symbolizes matters of the heart, obviously, and love life, etc., and romance. No rules. So if it starts under the index finger, you have a satisfying love life. If it's beneath the middle finger, it means that you're a selfish lover. If it begins between the first and the middle finger, it means you're idealistic and fall in love easily. A short line means little interaction in romance. If your heart line touches your lifeline, then your heart breaks easily. Now, in my drawing, my heart line is fairly long and it starts about here. So this is my heart line here, going all the way across there. So if it starts under the index finger, which mine is more in between, so I guess, you know, if you really, it's very faint, but I would say it's more starting by the index finger. I have a satisfying love life. Well, I have no love life, but that's okay. Beneath the middle finger, so if it starts over here instead and comes down, that it means that you're a selfish lover. If it begins between the first and the middle finger, means you're idealistic and fall in love more easily. Having a shorter love line where it doesn't kind of go all the way across like that means that there's little interest in romance. Yeah, we're going to cover the lines on your wrist in a minute. A short heart line means little interest in romance. So if your heart line touches your lifeline, then your heart breaks easily. A long curvy line means someone who can easily express their feelings. Straight heart line placed parallel to your lifeline, meaning, so here is the heart line, and then your lifeline is down here. Let's see if I can do it again. Straight line means straight heart line placed parallel to your lifeline means you're more practical when it comes to your emotions. Wavy lines means you are a playful boy or girl with more lovers, but few serious relationships. Now the headline, which again, referencing my drawing, find it again, there. This is the heart, that the second line down is the headline. This is the fate line, and that's your lifeline. Okay. So the headline symbolizes your intellect and wisdom. Short line means that you place more importance on physical accomplishments than intellectual ones. If you have a wavy headline, it indicates a short attention span, while a deep long line means you're a deep thinker. A straight one means that you're a realist. Now, if it's separated from your lifeline, you have an optimistic outlook. If there's a 0 or a plus sign in your headline, like there's, you know, sometimes you'll find marks on your palm that are shaped like a plus sign or a circle. If you find one in your headline at all, that it denotes emotional curses of some kind. This format is so tiny, it's very hard to see pictures. Well, but again, Tanya, there are pictures of this under the guides tab underneath the group photo that you can go into under divination, and there are pictures in there of the different lines on the palm and where they are. I have to laugh because all this focus on my lines made me notice I have a splinter in my hand. I want to learn more. I'm not going to make light of the practice. So yeah, if you are having difficulty seeing my drawing or what have you, then go into under the guide section in the group, and again, there's a resource library in there for everybody. So take advantage of it. I don't build it for myself. I build it for you guys. So use it. It's there. Okay, so having multiple plus signs show more of having big decisions in your lifetime. Curvy lines denotes creativity or and when you find those circles and plus size signs in other places, they have different meaning too. Also spontaneity. If you have a straight line, it's practicality and structure. Now the love line, yes, all those things mean different things, Tanya. The lifeline is a line of destiny. The length of the line doesn't show when you're going to die, but it shows your potential events in your life. If your lifeline's more close to your thumb, it is more straight than more straight than curved. You're likely to be a slow moving person, may be prone to laziness and are often tired. Having a straight lifeline can also mean that you show caution in a relationship. Having a wide curved lifeline means that you're energetic and are of good, stable health. Just moving sideways to let Jake get down if he's going to. Nothing's in your way, boo. He may need to go out. If you have a wide curved lifeline, you're energetic and of good, stable health. If it swoops in a semicircle, you have more of a capacity to lead and an enthusiastic attitude. Now you're confused. What are you confused about, Gina? What's the matter, baby? And again, if there's anything in here that I'm describing, everybody's hands are going to be a little bit different, and these are just some of the meanings of them. But if you want to be able to spend more time on the topic, go look up palm reading. Go look up, diagrams or images of the lines on your hand for palm reading and their meanings. Something to that effect will give you all of this where you can take your time on it and review it for yourself in comparing it to your own hands and how it plays out on your hands. So this is just a tip of the iceberg presentation of the topic more than anything. Are you in need of going out? I'm gonna go out, yes? Okay. So puppy needs to go out, so we're gonna go do that real quick. Because of the high wind factor, I don't think he's gonna stay out too long. So we already unplugged. All right, so let me get up and we will go take puppy out. I'm gonna leave the secondary tablet here with the comments in it. I'll review them when I get back. Oh, rather than trying to juggle two different tablets by hand. I'm coming. I am. Hang on. Sunny, sun. Rolling. Get to the light. Now, why do you always have to walk in front of me in the dark, in the exact location, or stopping in the same location I am going? It makes no sense. Just saying. Don't make it harder than it has to be done. Wait, watch out. Move over. Oh, you got a lot cooler out here. The sun went down. Well, come on, Mike. Switch. There we go. Time out. Oh, we got some snow too. Wonderful. Lovely. I'm just starting to get rid of it. Someone's newspaper is blowing in my yard. Go ahead. I always get my neighbor's bits of trash blowing into my yard from next door. It drives me nuts. They never come pick it up either. Okay. Like in my chain link fence in the springtime, I have to go around the fence and clean it up in the spring to get rid of the bits of garbage and stuff that's blown up against there through the cold months. But yeah, we still had a bunch of snow out there. Wow, it's blowing good. That hadn't melted off yet, but we had some rain yesterday and stuff, and so it's slipped. and icy in some places, and now we got a dusting of snow again over top of that, but it's sticking weirdly because of the high wind. And it's cold. I'm not gonna lie. I'm tired of winter. Absolutely. So I can, well, I don't know actually. Can I do it on? No, I can't. No, yes, I can. Okay. I'll reverse the camera and move the case out of the way. So that's the snow next to my ramp. So as you can see, there's still a fair amount out there. That's everywhere and my truck. So yeah. And it's really, really super windy. We're under a high wind advisory here right now. So switch that back. There we go. He shouldn't stay up too long because he doesn't like that level. Yeah, here he comes running. Let me set you down so I can get him on the hook. I know it's windy and awful out here. You stay out long in it. Oh. I didn't grab the door out of my hand. All right, I know it's awful out there. Oh, you know what the wind chill is right now. In there. And walk her away. Let me in the house. Shut the door. There. Get the light out. Kitchen there. Traveling. Oh, fur. It is nippy out there. I know the wind advisory is throughout tonight into tomorrow, right now anyway, with 50-mile-an-hour gusts. Loveliness. All right. You may review your comments really quick. Had to have the AC on. Holy cow, Sandy. We haven't gotten above like low 40s even in this past week. So yeah. Thank you for that offer to help out, Kim. Dog slobber on your hand. Yeah, he's an old guy and he tends to need to go out, but you know, sometimes in the middle of the show, so it's not unusual. He's kind of the mascot of the group. Yep, Sandy's only a couple hours, well, closer to 3 hours from me, but 2.5 hours. 57. Oh my goodness, I'd have the doors and windows wide open, sweetie. I would. It is right now, I can tell you really quick, 22 degrees without the wind chill out there right now. Cold, okay, as long as it's not windy. It does. I'm glad I'm not out there. But yeah, so it's 22 degrees Fahrenheit here now in upstate New York. Minus without having the wind chill added in, which probably brings it down closer to 0. But yeah. Are you coming, Jake, or no? You getting up? She's not in your way. Go ahead, but don't hold up the show any further, please. That'd be great. 48. Yeah, we didn't reach that warm here. Not unusual, Gina. It's, you know, we have winters here for sure. Come on. Go ahead and get up, please. 78. Yeah, that's it. AC weather for me, Sandy. I don't do well with anything probably in the, once it goes past like 70, it starts getting uncomfortable for me. 53 is good. I can handle 53. Jake, nothing is in your way, baby. Go ahead. You can get up. Go ahead. Come on. I'd like to continue with the show. Hurry up. Come on. Puppy. Yeah, he's about 15. 28. Wow. That is a very old cat. He's about 15, give or take. He didn't come to me as a puppy, so it's best guess on his age. So he's been with me going on 12 years now. There you go, babes. Okay. Get situated. Go ahead. Get settled. Yes, you can get settled. I love you, but lay down so I can keep going on my show. Nobody cares about my conversations with you, sweetie. Yeah, no, I get uncomfortable with heat and humidity or cold. Almost married a man from North Carolina. Go ahead. Yeah, I've heard it's nice there. Okay. Good. Good. So then let me get comfortable too here. Onward, guys. Okay. So let's see here. Not sure who's the. Oh, who's your cat's amazing? Yeah. The oldest one I've ever had is 21. So 28's pretty. If they have quality of life still and they're happy without a ton of health issues, then sure. And until California falls in the ocean, that's my concern with that, Natalie. See how they are, Tanya. Yep, Jaker and little girl. Splat. What? Alrighty, so back into it. My man's invisible or got lost in the post or in the snow. Yeah, that's Jake. Everybody in my group knows him. He's kind of our mascot. Yeah, I know Jake's clock is winding down, and again, 15 is just a best guess for him based on how old the vet thought he was, and based on how old I thought he was, based on his teeth and his size and stuff when he came to me. Glad that Splinter is gone. All right, so fate lines. So your fate line, now not everyone has one. Well, that's good that she still has, a decent life and she's not in a lot of pain. So not everyone has a fate line. It can be read with the lifeline to show your future. If there's one on your dominant hand, but not your other hand, it means that you've taken fate into your own hands. If you have a short fate line or no line, you can redirect your energies at any time onto something totally different at any time. If you have a longer fate line, it tends to mean that you're more of a free spirit. If you have a deeper fate line, you're more controlled by destiny. Yeah, I know it has, but you're also on a bunch of fault lines out there, so it could happen at any time. And at least where I'm at, wouldn't be impacted by any tsunamis, ocean flooding thing. I'm not on any fault line, so at least I'm safe from most natural disasters here. I have heard that about Arizona, that it's a dry heat. With the fibromyalgia, I don't respond well to heat or cold temperature changes and stuff. So, well, sure, ocean would rise before it falls off. That's also a concern. So, anyway, so if there are more breaks in the fate line, it means your external focus will change your life more times, but you'll persevere no matter what. So that's really the gist of the basics regarding the different lines on your palms. Now, depending on some of the other lines, they can have meanings. And if you have different symbols on your hand, they too can have meanings, like there's such a thing as healer's lines. Or if you are gifted, that can show on your hands as well. So if you have I don't know if it'll show up on camera without being all blurry. I'm going to get at the right angle here. Well, it's probably not going to show up well, but if you have a series of lines going down here that are parallel to each other, and they are, up and down, and it can be 3 or 4 of them, then that's one sign of a healer's mark. And some people only have them on one and not the other. Get into the light. I believe I do have them on both sides. Again, there are posts in the guide section of the group under the group photo, the guides tab. In there is stuff in the divination sections that are, more further information about palm reading if one is interested. Hi, Thomas. Welcome. You may not have a fate line, and that's okay, Sandy. Not everyone does. So, about 10 on each hand. Right. So, obviously, you know what you are, Stacia, right? So, that's the gist of palm reading anyway. Again, there's a bunch of different posts in there. regarding all the different kinds of lines one can have, what their meanings are, and different perspectives on it, and so forth. So, take a peek in the guide section and divination, and you'll see what they are and what they mean. All right, so we could do next. Let's do scrying first, and then if there's time, we can get into Napoleon's Book of Fate. Let's see here. Now, this show was, Fibro Socks. I know you do have it too. Yep, Nancy's got it too. Don't come in here full-blown assassin. Use it? What? I'm not sure what that means. You want to learn about the scrying? So scrying is fairly easy. I talked about this during the last show. I recently bought myself a scrying mirror, but I haven't had the time and energy to do it yet. But here, I'll show you mine before we start. So this is made from obsidian. Now it doesn't, check out the reflection, isn't that kind of cool? So it doesn't have to be obsidian. It doesn't have to be a stone. It can be anything that's kind of more of a reflective surface. It can be done with water. It can be done with mirrors. Oh, she's picking on you. Well, tell her to stop if you're bothered by it, Thomas, Wow, Karen. So, and in case it doesn't work with me, can also be utilized as a grid where you can place different stones on here to help direct energy for different purposes. So I figured if it is an epic fail, when I try to scry, I can at least utilize the piece for something else. So, all right. So scrying, we originally covered this topic in the group back December 30th of 2019. Oh, you deserve it from her. So then it's okay, I guess. As long as it's done in good humor and not in a harmful way, then I'm okay with it. If the person's not bothered, then we're cool. He's your sassy friend. You don't have to have a fate line, Gina. I think it meant that you were more of a free spirit, and I put the notes away and don't have the bookmark now. I can flip through it real quick and see if I can find it. If not, then you can always rewatch the show, but in that section. Let's see here. Psychometry, where's that fall? I might not be able to find it really quick here, and I don't want to hold up the whole show, but I think it was like talking about it not being that you're more of a free spirit and not impacted by that stuff, but it's not a bad thing. Nothing, if your lines are different than, what mine are or anyone else's, that's okay. That everybody is going to be different with that. So, yeah, I can't find it right off the bat real quick because I already closed the notebook on it. But again, you can always go back and rewatch it. The lines on your pinky are usually healer's marks. It can also allude to the fact of being gifted. Yeah, I love obsidian. It's one of my favorite protective stones. Black tourmaline also works really well for me. I got pieces of that everywhere too. So, but the obsidian is a very reflective surface. Now, one can also go to the Dollar Tree store where everything costs $1. Buy one of their cheapo photo frames, take the glass out, spray paint it black, let it dry, obviously, and then put it back together again, and voila, you have a scrying mirror. You can use a regular mirror. You can use a bowl of water. It doesn't have to be a stone or a black surface. Yeah, so like I said, check out the guide section, and in the group, under the group photo, there are a bunch of gray tabs going straight across. The guide section has a whole resource library in there on different topics for you guys. Check it out. That's why I built it, is for you guys. I know that stuff already. I don't need the resource library for me. It's for everybody else. So utilize it. That's why it's there. Yep, crystal balls can be used. So anything that is a reflective surface is the important part. So scrying means foretelling the future using a crystal ball or other reflective surfaces. It's also known as seeing or peeping. What kind of mirrors when you spray black? Well, you don't have to spray the mirror black because the mirror is already reflective, right, Gina? So you don't have to spray paint it black. That would be more like if you buy a photo frame, you'd spray paint the glass black. But yeah, it doesn't have to be if you're going to use a mirror, you don't need to have it painted. Exactly. Sandy knows about the resource library. She utilizes it a lot, which that makes me happy because that's why I made it. So at least, if it gets used, that's the whole purpose of it being there, is for you guys to access when you have a curiosity about a topic, you're interested in something, go in there and see if you can find it. And I did the best I could to split it into different topics to make it easier to find what you're looking for. Yep, Windows really good in the nighttime, absolutely. As long as it's a reflective surface, that's the important part. So it's also known as seeing or peeping. It's the practice of looking into a suitable medium in hope of detecting a significant message or visions. The object may be personal guidance, prophecy, revelations, or inspirations. There is stuff in there on both scrying and on the palm reading stuff. So yeah, it's all in there. There is no uniformity in the procedures of scrying, nor is it a formal discipline. If you paint the glass of a picture frame black, that's a scrying mirror. It's still scrying. So my point being, you can use, okay, so Gina, let's break it down again, honey. What is important is that it's a reflective surface, right? So as far as the picture frame, I was saying, you don't have to buy something big and expensive. You can go to the dollar store and buy a picture frame, take the glass out and paint the glass black and put the glass back in when it's dry. And then you have a reflective surface to do it from. You with me? You can use mirrors. You can use a bowl of water. You can use, like Kim mentioned, dark windows at night that's going to reflect from the glass. My scrying mirror is a piece of black obsidian because of the reflective surface. Okay, so it's just that it's reflective. So whatever surface is reflective is what you can use. But see, the thing is, Renee, is it's not about being afraid of what you see. So many people, they freak out because they don't understand what they're seeing. And at that point, it's tuning in further to identify what it is. And sometimes, other beings can come through that may be interdimensional in nature, or some people feel like it could be aliens, it could be anything, but not running from it and being afraid to shut it off because you don't understand it. That's when you seek further understanding, by the way I look at it anyway. And not being afraid because of your religious beliefs on these things, but giving it a try. And if you sage your environment down first with the intention of not having anything negative to be allowed in, then you get in there. We're going to get to that, Thomas, in 1 second. Yeah, I know you don't like mirrors, Sandy. So, no, that's good that you didn't run, but, don't fear it. Check and see what they are. Sometimes it may be that something may not be able to manifest fully either. So it's not a formal discipline. Down through the ages, different terms have been coined to describe the practice or going along with what form they were using to scry with, like smoke, water, coals, etc. Scrying has been practiced more in more cultures in the belief that it can show past, present, and future. And depending on one's cultural views, will depend on what people think the info, where the info is coming from, either the subconscious mind, spirits, devils, different gods is gonna, it's gonna all impact what you believe you're seeing. So, what kind of media is used to scribe? Here. More commonly used are reflective, refractive surfaces, translucent or luminescent surfaces like crystals, stones or glass in various shapes like crystal balls, mirrors, reflective black surfaces like obsidian, water, you can use fire or smoke. Some may even stare into a pitch dark, clear sky, clouds, shadows, or light patterns, or a wall, even. Some even refer to the mirage surface of, say, fire or glowing coals, that they prefer that. Some may even close their eyes, staring at the inside of their eyelids, and this is often called just simply eyelid scrying. Yes, you do love fire. Some report that the experience is drug-like some drugs can be used to with the to kind of potentially make the experience more potent. But I'm not a drug user and I don't like being in that state of mind, but some people are big into that, like having trips or whatever, and what they see. Reflective made you think of toaster. So some report that, or many report that whichever scrying method is used, at first it serves to focus your attention, clearing the mind of unwanted thoughts from the mind. And one class of methods of scrying involves self-induced trance with or without the aid of, say, a crystal ball. Once this stage is reached, the practitioner may begin free association with the perceived images. In other words, you allow whatever image is going to come through and then just simply observe what it is and keep letting it flow through you. The technique of looking for and declaring the initial images out loud, however trivial or irrelevant, may seem to the conscious mind an attempt to deepen the trance state. Hey, you could probably use your toaster too, In this state, some scryers hear their own disassociated voices affirming what they see in a mental feedback loop. Practitioners apply the process until they achieve a satisfactory state of perception in which rich visual images and dramatic stories seem to be projected into with the medium itself or in the mind's eye of the scryer. So in other words, you can see the image play out in the reflective surface or in your mind's eye. They claim that it allows them to see relevant events or images within the chosen medium that you're using. Nostradamus, he practiced scrying and he would stare into a bowl of water or a magic mirror to see the future whilst in a trance. Scrying that's been used in religion and mythology, again, because I tend to present different views on it, on any topic I give. So the Hebrew Bible, divination is briefly mentioned in chapter 44 of the book of Genesis. A silver chalice or cup was planted in Benjamin's sack as he left Egypt. It revealed the cup belongs to Joseph, vizier of Egypt, whose steward claimed was used for drinking and divination. And in ancient Persia, in the Shahnameh, 10th century epic work narrating historical and mythological pasts of Persia, gives a description of what was called the cup of Jam, which was used by the ancient Persian kings for observing all 7 layers of the universe in. Yeah, separate. Come on now. And scrying in folklore, rituals from ceremonial magic are retained in the form of folklore and superstition. Uh, yeah, absolutely. Like whatever is going to work, whatever you're comfortable using is what you use. It's a reflective surface, in other words. It used to be a tradition for a young lady, often on Halloween. She could gaze into a mirror in a darkened room and catch a glimpse of her future husband, um, to see who she was going to potentially marry, or a soul, meaning that their fate was to die before they married. And so, other forms of this tale, can you guess? Bloody Mary. The goal is to test a young girl's mettle against a malevolent ghost or witch. In that story of Bloody Mary, where you stare into a mirror in a darkened room, reciting Bloody Mary a certain number of times, however many times varies with the telling, and then you're supposed to see an image appear of Bloody Mary, who really was not some horrible witch or malevolent spirit in truth, but she was a human spirit, a human being who died in a bad way, but she wasn't a bad person or otherwise, but she got turned into one in the story. But that is said, yeah, some say 30 times, some say 7, some say 20 times. It's up to, whoever is retelling the story, really. Another use we see is in the tale of Snow White, where the jealous queen consults the mirror for confirmation. You did Candyman? Yep, Candyman's another version of it. So the queen in Snow White, she consults the mirror to see who's the fairest of all, hoping to hear her own answer for it. Yeah, I've never had any experience with Bloody Mary either. I believe in the original, like who Mary was really supposed to be was Queen Mary of Scots. And when traced all the way back, that was who it was referencing. So what does science say about scrying? They naturally consider that it's a pseudoscience, and skeptics consider scrying to be the result of delusions, wishful thinking, hallucinations, or hypnagogic experiences, which are hallucinations experienced during the onset of sleep. Oh, great. Well, I'm glad you find that so. And yeah, we're family in here, Kim. Sandy said, when we were kids, my oldest sister and I would look in a mirror at midnight and strike a match in the dark room, and supposedly who we were going to marry would be in the mirror. I always ran away before she struck the match. This is the last night I will be 55, says Natalie. This information is fun. It's exactly what I needed. So fascinating and informative. Could be a catalyst for growth and change for me. I appreciate this so very much. Well, happy early birthday, lady. You are rocking your age. So there you go. Queen Mary was not the one to take baths in blood. That was she was a Contessa, I believe, but that was a completely different character from a different location. Queen Mary of Scots was the daughter of Henry VIII, and she was the legitimate daughter. And because she couldn't actually bear a child, a male heir for Henry VIII, she was kind of like sent away type of thing. But Queen Mary was, she kept trying. She had a fake pregnancies, essentially. Like she tried so hard to get pregnant that mind over body, she through that intensive focus on it, she had a pregnancy like symptoms, including an expansion of her belly, and then after the time of where you'd normally give birth, that never happened. So but then after her, Queen, just blanking on her name, probably Henry VIII's illegitimate daughter was the one who took the throne after her. But She was actually the one who bathed in blood. She was actually, I believe, from like, not Transylvania, that area though. And she used to kill off young virginal girls in order to drain them of their blood and do horrible experiments on them. And yeah, she was a bad person. So, uh, modern day traditions and fictions regarding scrying, there is the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, circa 1888 to 1902. These folks taught their own version of scrying, involving a 3-level system done either individually or as a group. They do vampire facials in a spa in South Carolina. Oh, lovely. Yeah, I think I'll stick to my own regime. Yeah, I'm good with my own skincare routine there. So the 3 levels that they would do, scrying in the spirit vision, it was called. This involved an inner seeing by using an object, symbol, or mirror, traveling in the spirit vision, and number 2 involves going places seen and interacting with what's found there, which seems more easier than remote, or seems more like remote viewing to me. And the 3rd is rising in the planes, quote unquote, focuses on a spiritual process involving scrying via the tree of life, which has a potential to elevate consciousness to the level of the divine. Elizabeth Bathory, thank you, I blanked on her name. Yep, Elizabeth Bathory, she was like a countess, not a queen, and so yeah, she was the blood bather and the torturer of young girls, and she pretty well drained her community of the young girls of it, and then was found out, she was, because of her royal standing. I'm just going to move my space heater over a little bit because it's getting chilly in here from that darn wind. Can I reach it? Let's see. Hang on, guys. There we go. She was locked in her home, basically on house arrest for the remainder of her life as, quote, punishment, such horror to live in your own home. And that's all she faced for having done what she did. And she actually started affecting and taking girls from other local communities as well, and doing horrible torture and things with them. Yeah, I can go longer if I choose, Sandy, so it's kind of up to you guys. Excuse me, if you want me to stop after this topic, we can. The other topic of Napoleon's Book of Fate can be about another hour, so up to you guys. So the Dr. John D. Theater of the Mind Institute, founded by parapsychologist Raymond Moody, used crystalmancy, which is scrying with a crystal ball, to enable clients to see apparitions of the dead. Traditional healers from the Yucatan Peninsula and Guatemala, called Sastun or Zastum, use crystal balls for scrying as well. Hard pass, right? Good, Kim. Well, yeah, let me know, you guys, if you are doing that. We're going to get to it. Thomas, for those who are, because you're new to me, I always lay a foundation first of, covering the basics of the topics, what everybody else thinks about it, but we will get to it. It's very simple. And we did cover some of that already in towards the middle of the material we've covered already. So, let's see. In J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, the Palantir Stone is used to see what any other Palantir Stone sees. So whoever else has one can see what's going on in different locations that they're in. And Lady Galadriel uses the Mirror of Galadriel to see visions of the past, present, or future. And even in the TV series Charmed, the sisters scry with the crystal in a map to find people. So 9 common types of scrying is using wax. So dripping wax onto a water surface. The scryer then interprets the images or words formed from the hardened wax. is one form and way to scry. Cloud scrying, aka cloud gazing, is involving observing clouds and the shapes they form that's used to further specific information or knowledge. You can use a mirror, which most popular form of scrying, also called catoptromancy, involves relaxing your vision and staring into a mirror. After a while, images and scenes will emerge. So, see, now I'm answering your question, Mr. Impatience. Just saying. I get to it. Water scrying, staring into the water, and images can be perceived after a time. Objects like pebbles can be dropped in to create ripples, and those can also be read. There is also oil scrying. So in the form of scrying, a small amount of oil is poured onto a dish and then rubbed all over the dish that's used. Then the reflections of light off of the object are then read to figure out what you're seeing. Fire scrying is an ancient form of scrying, involves staring into the flames for visions, and this can be used with a simple candle or oil lamps. Bonus points if it's a bonfire because it's a bigger, easier part. Well, he's being impatient on me to get to that information is all, because that's what he really wants to know. And I do get to it. I am getting to it now. I'm telling you how the different forms are done. There's also smoke scrying. As smoke rises from the fire, its ethereal shapes present spiritual messages to some. Crystal scrying. This is the stereotypical method, but nonetheless more effective, and it involves a crystal object, usually a ball or a globe, and it's used to gather specific meanings. The eye, also called soul gazing. This involves looking deep into another person's eyes and observing the reflections there to get information through. So how to practice scrying, Thomas? The method is basically the same no matter which object you choose to do it in. So you get whatever object you're comfortable with, have 1 to 2 candles, a lighter or matches, a crystal or small object, whatever you're choosing to do it in. Patience is a lesson, absolutely. A table and darkness. So if you are using, say, a bowl of water, you can put the crystal in the bowl, and you can scry inside or out with using the stone inside or out. Like, you don't have to have the crystal in the water. If you're going to do it with the crystal in the water, put the crystal right in the middle of the bowl. Make sure it's one that can get wet, obviously. And in order to have an object to focus on, you can smudge your area before starting using sage. Light the candles, put on either side of the scrying object, and you enter a trance-like state, which is an altered state of consciousness of relaxing, taking a couple of deep breaths to center and focus. When you do a soft gaze with your eyes, my glasses always block my eyes, but so a soft focus with your eyes is just kind of letting them kind of partially close. So when you're staring at something, rather than being like, just relax and let them go mostly of the way closed, but not completely. They're just relaxed lids, right? So they're just open a little bit, and that is enough to be able to see, because it kind of blurs your vision a bit, but it comes from being in the relaxed state too, and allows you then to see more of what's coming through, so that you're not hyper wide-eyed focused on something. You can use drum music, visualization, whatever helps you to get into that frame of mind. And all this needs to be done at night or in a darkened room, or after dark at night if outside. And you're going to stare at your scrying object, obviously. Once you reach your altered state, you'll know, because you'll feel peaceful, alert, focused, and connected. Relax your eyes into the soft focus state I just showed you. Be patient, as it can take a little while. Patience, Thomas. See, it keeps coming up. Hold your intention in your mind of what you're seeking, like what information you're seeking. Whether you have a question or not, keep that in your mind's eye of that this is why you're doing it. Relax your entire face from your mouth to your ears. And you can use your glasses. You know, for me, I've always joked that, you know, whenever you do anything like vision stuff or traveling, the glasses have to come off. They get in the way. Breathe deep from your stomach. And at times the images may come and go, but don't try to hang on to them. Just let them flow and be a passive observer. Exactly. Look it up. Keep your eyes focused on the tool. Look for metaphors, analogies, or symbols. And that's really it. You can write down anything of what you saw, because sometimes it may come through as pieces of a puzzle. So if it's written down, then you can piece that puzzle together. So if I were to use my obsidian scrying mirror, right, so I'm going to set it up so it's standing upright, leaning against something else, and put like a tea light candle or something in front of it, and focus on the flame to get into that relaxed state of being. And then, you know, let my eyes go into that soft focus state, and then just be open to what comes through, or what knowledge or information I'm seeking, or what I want to see, and see what happens with it. Yeah, it always feels like the weight of my glasses get in the way, but I know a lot of other people who wear glasses, who do energy work, that feels like it's just in the way. So my glasses always come off. So that's really it. That's all you have to do for scrying, is those steps. So there's the answers to your questions, Thomas. That's how you scry. But as you can see, a number of different methods and tools can be used to achieve the same goal. So it doesn't have to be buying an expensive rock. It can be a mirror. It can be a cheap photo frame that you spray paint the glass black. It can be done at night. Yep, using it, depending on the size, because they do sell bigger obsidian plates that you can buy, but they can get quite pricey. I thought mine was going to be a little bit bigger than what it was, but, you know, it's still sufficient. And just set the candle down on the table in front of it. And a tea light is sufficient. If you have a bigger plate, obviously you can use a bigger candle, but so that it's going to create that reflective light off of the surface of what you're using. And let it flow, let it come through, get in that vibe, and be patient to allow it to tune in, to come through, and don't hang on to it. Don't question in a moment. Go with what you get. And after a session of it, you can write down whatever you did see, because it may be presenting in the form of messages or puzzle pieces to put together for some people. Other people may see actual images. Again, I have that. I just haven't been able to try it yet, but it is a goal. Willow, have you had a black cat with white ever, as see one with you as we're talking or chatting to each other? I don't currently have one. I have had black and white cats before, and black cats. But when I am doing a show, my gifts are such that I can flip a switch off and on. And when I'm presenting material, they're turned off so that I can focus on the material and the comments. So I do have them, but then they may be here and, you know, hanging out, but I'm not aware of them without tuning in, if that makes sense. Thank you. Yep, I got that from the Crystal Boutique, had them. But again, you can buy them in different sizes. They can, obviously, the bigger they are, the more expensive they're going to get. So, yeah, I have a few cats who have crossed over, who are, one was black, all black. The other was a tuxedo cat, black and white. So, yep. Hey, Christopher. So, up to you guys. Let me know in chat if you want me, and also Katie, if she's up to hanging out a little bit longer. I can do Napoleon's Book of Fate as well, and explaining what it is and how it's used. It's a method that you can do yourself at home, so you don't have to have his actual book to do it. But it is another divination method. So let me know in the chat if that's something you want, and I will cover it. If not, you can save it another time. Same thing for Katie. Let me know time-wise if you're good for me to go a little longer or not. She's good. Okay, cool. Katie's good if I go a little longer. Aaron's saying go ahead. Okay, Sandy. Well, have a good rest of the night, and I love you. Stacy hasn't heard of it before. Go for it. Do it, says Karen. Do it. No, I'm good. I can do it. I wouldn't offer if I wasn't able, if that makes sense. Just not my style, you know. I've got like 50,000 bookmarks. When I do these combined shows from all my other notebooks that I have I bookmark the sections out for ease of finding it as it comes up. So, gajillion bookmarks. So let's stick that in there out of the way. Oh, we get a good number watching tonight too. No, it does not, Marianne. The glass does not have to have black on both sides because you're only seeing one side, right? So you're not going to be flipping it back and forth as you're doing it. So it's only one side of the surface. So say if you go and buy a cheapo photo frame from the dollar store where everything costs $1, then you would spray paint one side of it, the black, and then let it dry, and then put it back into the photo frame to hold it up, and then you can use that. That's a cheaper way of getting one or making one. Worried about my not-head friend spending most of February in the hospital. Well, I am glad that if he's not in the hospital. Okay, so Napoleon's Book of Fate. Now, for this, you're going to need a piece of paper and a pen, FYI. I covered this topic back in May of 2020. And I think it was done in Willows Wisp. My apologies. That goofball friend is coughing up a storm still. Well, sorry you were so sick, Thomas. Yep, you can even switch off your phone and use the screen. Whatever is a reflective surface you can use that's dark, and doing it at night so that, again, it creates that reflective and you can see. Yep, we covered the bowl of water, and you can put a crystal in it to focus on. So there's that patience word again for Thomas. To be clear, does one spray paint the back of the glass and put the glass side up to see it? Yeah, you could do it either way because the paint is going to create that reflective surface on it. And you'll know it after you paint it and you let it dry. You know, that'll be the reflective surface. And since glass is see-through, the paint is going to create the barrier to not keep seeing through it as glass. So then you put it back in the frame and use it. So the cost of a can of spray paint, that's $4 or $5, $6, something like that at Walmart, wherever you choose to get it from. And go to the Dollar Tree, get a photo frame for $1. So you can make a scrying mirror out of $10. You can use a regular mirror. You can use whatever you choose to that has a reflective surface. And that's the key point. So whether it's water, a spray painted picture frame, a piece of obsidian, whatever you're comfortable with that is reflective, a dark mirror or window at night, you know, that can be used too. And it's just getting into that frame of mind and getting that soft focus going on with your eyes and allowing it to come through and trusting it. You know, don't question it, don't doubt it, and go with what you get and have something focused in your mind of what you're seeking to do it. Right, any reflective surface works. Yep, phone screen, you can use whatever you want. That's a reflective, darker surface that will reflect light. Okay, so everybody get a pen and paper for this topic, because again, you don't have to have the actual book in order to do this method of divination. You can do it yourself based on the method. So what is the Napoleon's Book of Fate? Napoleon Bonaparte, Rainbow Obsidian could work, yeah, who lived from 1769 to 1921, was the Emperor of France, and often consulted an oraculum, which was given in a book that is now called Napoleon's Book of Fate, and the Oracle Napoleon's Oraculum. Yeah, it has to be a reflective surface, Renee. So it doesn't have to be a dark surface, but a reflective surface. So you can use a mirror, you can use your TV screen, you can use your phone, you can use water, as long as it's a reflective surface. Make sense? So he is said to have consulted the oracle on many occasions and formed a stimulus to his most speculative successful enterprises, quote unquote. No, that's okay, Renee. So it's just reflective surface. Yep. So in 1813, Napoleon was defeated at Leipzig. There we go. Prussian officers had found Napoleon's oraculum, and it was originally found in a Royal Egyptian tomb during a French military expedition in 1801. Yep, he had one eye. Napoleon then ordered the transcript to be translated by a famous German scholar, and from then on, the oraculum was one of his most prized possessions. So here is Napoleon's oracle method. So with a pen and paper, you're going to make a series of asterisk marks. You know what an asterisk mark is, like the star mark on your keypad. You're going to make that in 4 lines. So I will show you. So here, you're going to make 4 lines of asterisks, okay? But wait till you get the rest of the directions first. You're going to do it without thinking. Let the pen be your guide as to how many asterisks you make. So as long as you have 4 lines, don't stop when it feels right to stop. Add as many marks as desired in each of the 4 lines. And when you finish this, your end result should look like the picture I just showed. Now, step 2 is now add the number of marks made. So in my first line, I did it as a practice following the instructions. So in my first line, I had 12 marks. In the second line, I had 13. In the third mark, I had 14. In the fourth line, I had 15 asterisks before I stopped. So you're going to add up those numbers. Step 3, when the number of marks in any of the 4 lines exceeds the number 9, then only the extra marks are taken into account. So for example, the first line I made had 12 asterisks. So you're going to just take whatever number is above number 9. So that's 3. 9 plus 3 equals 12, right? So that the 12 marks then becomes 3. Does that make sense? So because in the first line I did 12 asterisks, you're going to count up to the number 9 and only take those that are left over, which is 3. So number 1, rather than 12, the number will become 3. The second line I did 13 asterisks, so you're only going to go from the number 9 up to 13, so that number then becomes 4 instead of 13. The fourth line I did 14 of them, and so that from 9 to 14 equals 5, so that becomes the number. And 15 then became the number 6, from counting from number 9 onward. So anything after number 9 is the number of asterisks you then count, if you went above number 9. If you had less than 9 asterisks, then you're good. You don't got to change it. Okay. Oh my God, the page is separated. Forgive me, it's an older notebook, so pages stick. So the fourth step, a symbol is now obtained from the marks, and this is done by marking the line containing an odd number with a single asterisk. Using the example that I had done and I showed you in the first picture, the symbol obtained from the marks are like this. So you're going to put an asterisk, a single asterisk on only the odd numbers, and then the even numbers would get 2. So because my first number was a 3, I have 1 asterisk there because it's an odd number. The second line was the number 4, so that got 2 of them. The third line was a 5, so that got 1 for being an odd number. And the last line was a 2, and that got 2 marks. Okay, makes sense? So if it's an odd number, you give it 1 asterisk. If it's an even number, you give it 2. So then you don't have to change anything, Stacia. Yeah? Okay, so step 5. Now you're ready to consult the oraculum. In order to proceed, you first choose the question from a table of questions that's given below. There is a website too that you can go to in order to do this on your own time and your own pace to figure this out. And it gives you the tables that you use in order to calculate all this stuff. Let's see. So in order to proceed, first choose a question from the table of questions given below. After you've chosen the question, the original symbol you got is matched with its corresponding symbol in the table. So from this list of questions in this table, you're going to pick one of those questions before you start, and then you're going to go through and match up to find your answer to the question. Hey, Aaron, you go through and you match, if it's a 1 symbol or 2. Yeah, that's fine, Natalie. And there's a website you can go to look this up, and just do Napoleon's Book of Fate, and that'll take you to a page that has these tables on them that you can use. So you pick the question before you start, and then you do the symbols out of the asterisks out, and the number of symbols. It goes across, and you go down, and that gives the answer. So the questions can be, will this campaign be successful? Or like in his case, because he was military and warlike, will I marry this person? It has a whole list of questions on the website for it. And once you've chosen your questions and found the corresponding symbol, reading the table across you can click on the designated letter. So for example, if the question is a number 1, shall I obtain my wish? You should move along the row to find the symbol found of what that matches your symbol that you got. Match the original vertical symbol coming down with the symbol on the page, which is a P. And this will give you your answer to the question. In this case, the answer is what your wish will be granted to you. So based on my answer I got in this chart. Now again, I tried drawing this chart out when I originally did the show. I'm no artist. That came out horrible, and it was way too big to do on a notebook page. But it is online. Just look up Napoleon's Book of Fate in your search bar, and it should take you to the page that has this chart on it with the questions you choose from, and also to match up your symbols. But the process is the same. So I'm breaking down the steps of the process to help you understand how it's done. You can go to the website and then match up to find your answer. So what is you have to know that's important in this process is it's forbidden to ask the same question twice on the same day. You can't ask the same question in a month. So for example, will my wish be granted? You're not supposed to ask that twice in the same month. And you can't ask the same question twice in one day hoping for a different answer. And on the following days, no questions should be asked from Napoleon's Oracle. The answer on the chart goes through the alphabet depending on your marks. And the site I referred to, although it does have a lot of ads, be forewarned, had each letter to the answer provided, you just click on it and it'll take you to the answer to the question you're seeking. Again, and I have the website and I can put it into chat. Give me 1 second. Whoops. Oh, there goes my alarm clock. Whoops. That's okay. I drop this clock all the time because my power cord will catch on it. I keep a hair clip on the handle of my clock and it always catches and sends it flying. It's a wonder it's not broken yet, but thankfully it has not. So anyhow, put that back up there, move the cord to that side, we should be good. So again, the chart was just too expansive to write it all out, draw the chart, and then to go and write out all the alphabetical letters that you click on. But I will I'll type it into chat now of what the website is I used for this. So give me 1 second. Okay, Karen. Over there. Yeah, it's all right, Aaron. I drop it at least once a day off of there. Yes, the rules are on the website, and that's where it caught my eye one day in research. It mentioned it, so I went looking up to see what it was about. And it seemed like an interesting topic, so I presented it. You guys voted on it, so I did it. Okay, so let me type it up in chat real quick. Astro Cult. Spell it right. C-U-L-T. Has 2 C's. Not just one, Donna. astrocult.net / Napoleon bottom hash book bottom hash of bottom hash rate bottom hash oracle .html. All right, so this is the website I got all this from. There we go. You can go to it at your leisure. You can, save it, click on it, or highlight it and save it to, copy into your browser at your convenience. So with the history of what is an oracle. So it's a person or agency considered to be a source of wise counsel or prophetic opinion, an infallible authority, usually between spirit and nature. Many sites in the ancient world gained a reputation for giving out of oracular information. It's kind of like neurology, same kind of basis how you work out your master numbers and path numbers and stuff. You can also ask that question because it has the alphabetical letters and numbers to it. Sort of, it's just organized in a totally different way. The most famous oracles were of ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. They were even consulted or for matters of one's private lives. So it was thought that they connected to the other side, got the answers, and then passed them on. The Temple of Delphi was the most celebrated and claimed a bit of superiority over other talents. See, I'm looking at that and reading the same talents. Other temples. Thank you for your efforts. I know you go to great lengths to inform us. Much appreciation, sister. You're very welcome. If I didn't like research, you wouldn't have a show like this. Thankfully, I do enjoy learning and love it when a topic is picked that I don't know about and I'm learning it as I'm researching it. So that's always interesting, which was the case with this one. So the Temple of Delphi was the most celebrated and claimed a bit of superiority over other temples. Thank you, Chris. Once the 4th century brought in Christianity and the trampling of paganism, so waned the power of the oracles. Lots of love to you too. No, we don't want to go to the Temple of Doom, but the Temple of Delphi, yes. And I actually, so, and those of you who are closest to me, I've discussed this with, but I have, in addition to my regular guides, I have what I call, for lack of a better word, sub guides, where they're not full on spirit guides, but they're here to help me with a certain part of my path or my life. And they make themselves known to me and come to me. And they have been thus far attached to a certain skull that I bought, a gemstone skull. So for my now time, I have his personality of his last life. He was called Timote, which is the closest pronunciation I can get to his language. And he was from the tribe preceding the Yanomami tribe that in the rainforest. So the Yanomami tribe came from his people, basically, and descended through them. So he always sits out next to me, and I can talk to him whenever I choose. And I don't have to have him to talk, the stone out to talk to him, but I choose to. And the stone is indigo gabbro, which is a great stone for making higher connections. And next, I had been drawn to buy this clear quartz crystal skull. And when I got her back here, when I paid for it and it was delivered, she has a very quiet voice, and she said basically she's not for my now time, she's on the future part of my path to come, and I will be alerted when to take her out and let him go on his way, and she's then to take over helping me. And that she was in her one of her last lives, she was in training to become an Oracle of Delphi when the temple was attacked and destroyed. She was killed in the process, and her name is was it Delphine? I believe it was Delphine. But she has a very quiet voice for now anyway, because it's not her time to be helping us now. But so she's in my stone room, and for when the time is right, she'll bring it out. Kind of, yeah, and not all skulls have an attachment on them of a helper spirit. Sometimes it's just a normal human spirit. Sometimes it's nothing at all. But if you're tuned into the energy of stones, you can pick up on whether it's a male or female energy. And if you are really hyper drawn to it, then usually it's because it is there for a reason to help you, and it's coming to you through the stone, in order to get to you, basically. And not all of them are good. You're going to vibe it out, of course, before you buy it. But those particular ones were like, oh my God, I have got to have those. No matter what it takes, I'm getting it. So you kind of know. And with those two, I knew. And so there came a certain point where he told me to take him out, and he's sat out ever since. And she, it's not her time yet, so she's in there on my table, and when it's the right time, I'll know and bring her out, and she'll kind of take over the guidance. So basically, I can ask him anything, and he'll answer me, but he has to abide by the rules of my higher guides, and that's the order of it. There's a hierarchy, and they have to agree to those rules in order to help me. But they have not obtained the status or finished the training education to become a full-on spirit guide, but they're kind of intermediary. My crystal skull used to have spirits in it, but my son drank it all. Oh, Lord. So once the 4th century brought in Christianity and the trampling of paganism, so waned the power of the oracles. Priestesses were dressed in the garments of virgins and bound to observe the strictest laws of temperance, chastity, and purity. The oracle was the message from the gods or answers men sought, and not the one delivering them. So the oracle is the delivered message. So, for example, when I'm doing a reading, what I tell you, that is the oracle. I am not the oracle. The message is. Make sense? So the oracle of Apollo, a woman with the gift to receive and then repeat the messages from the gods, was sat on a machine known as a tripod whose three legs were balanced on the rocks over a hole in the cavern floor from which vapors came forth. It was thought that those vapors could then influence, and help her get into the state, an altered state, to receive the messages. One of my sons, when he was just 3, put a skull in his pocket, didn't tell me. We got home, he came down with chicken pox that same night, and I took it back the next day. Yeah. Dan Ankerrod's vodka, I don't know what that is, Renee. So she would sit on this stool. The vapors would help get her into an altered state in which she would receive these messages through. And she would inhale the vapors without danger. Now, anybody else who wasn't in training or lived by that strict code, it was said that the vapors would kill them. So not just anybody could sit there. The females selected were virgins. Oh, Saturday Night Live, gotcha. Oh, Dan Aykroyd. Okay, gotcha. So the woman chosen was a virgin and would speak and repeat what the gods dictated. The Book of Fate was written some 262 years before Napoleon's rise to victory. Ironically, in his last several years in command, Napoleon made mistake after mistake with various moves that cost his armies approximately 500,000 lives, 500,000 lives. That is true. No, that's okay. I once you said Saturday Night Live, I got what you meant. So no one knows exactly who wrote the Book of Fate, and even the knowledge of whose tomb it was found in seems to be kind of lost to history. So other than being an Egyptian tomb that it was found in, it is known that Napoleon's armies went in and kind of raped Egypt of a lot of their treasures, destroyed the face of the Sphinx and so forth, and caused a lot of damage within the culture, took what they wanted, and that was one of them, was the Book of Fate. So, but again, nobody knows its origins of who wrote it. Probably an Egyptian priest, it would be my guess. And then it was put into the tomb of some ruler, we don't know who, but it was said that he kind of stopped consulting it at the end and then made mistake after mistake that ended up leading to the death of 500,000 of his men in his army for doing it. Hey, Linda, how you doing, stranger? So that is Napoleon's Book of Fate. You got the website within the comment section and with the Willows Bend in order to look it up yourself. If somebody online who's listening is interested, let me go scroll back, and it's astrocult.net/Napoleon _book_of_fate_oracle.html is the website. But you can also, again, just look up Napoleon's Book of Fate, and it'll give you, I'm sure, the website to go look it up yourself, to have the thing in front of you to reference. Teach him for stealing, but he didn't know what he was stealing. Well, correct. Yep, absolutely, Gina. He was defeated, and again, he had defeat after defeat, and because he stopped consulting the book, it said that somebody stole it or something, and then without referencing it, he kept making mistake after mistake. But that the book, it was suggested that using the book helped him obtain greatness at the height of his military career, and once he stopped using it, it all went downhill fast. So anyways, it is just one more method of divination. One can also use collect EVPs for communication using a tape recording device, and you are said to, you put it on record, and there's digital recorders out there one can buy there's different brands that people say are better than others to pick them up. And you go into a location known to have activity, you ask a question, you set it down without touching it, without moving around and stuff, and let it just record and see. Then you check it back and replay to determine whether there's any messages there for you. And in response, it helps if you have like a computer program that can gauge sound, because sometimes it can be undetectable. It's always usually undetectable to the human ear, but for some reason, the recording device picks up the spoken messages from the spirit. Sometimes they're difficult to understand, so it's not the most reliable form of divination or understanding to communicate with. But ultimately, divination is the ability to communicate with the other side. Stop it, Aaron. In order to, allow that connection, to get those messages, to help answer your questions and get guidance and so forth. So they're all just different ways of achieving it. But as you saw that with the Ouija board, if you follow the rules, well, you're not going to have all those issues. And don't reside in a place of fear without knowledge, because that's ignorance at that point. And that's, of course, if you choose to live in ignorance, well, that is one's choice, and I can't impact that. But if one is interested in knowing more, those are the rules to guide you in using it, so you're less likely to have anything happen from it. And, if you are bound by your religious beliefs and you're not comfortable, don't use it. But that goes with any tool for divination. But there are mentions of it in the Bible, and not in a negative way, not saying God said don't use this or otherwise. It talks about using them to help, for communication. Yeah, spirit boxes can give you a headache, though, because of the white noise that is in the background of it. That it can be, you have to play it kind of loud to pick up on the words. But what she's referencing, for those who are not aware, spirit box is another tool used to communicate, where it basically plays white noise. It cycles across all of the different radio stations, like one per second. And so anything that's picked up is thought to not be anything from the radio station, but they're using the energy of the white noise in order to communicate with you. And words and phrases can come through, which is thought to be from the other side. I'm burning frankincense and dragon's blood right now. A person came in and asked, "What is that you're burning?" I said, "Why? Don't you like it?" The answer was no. I said, "Well, I do." Guess they left. I guess they weren't ready to breathe in the topic. They left, and I am thrilled about that. Is that a bad thing? No, it is not. It's your space, and you do you. And if it makes you happy and brings you joy, then that's what counts. Yeah, it's a personal preference, Karen, as to, she said she's not on board with Spirit Box. Not all of these tools will resonate with everybody. Not everybody will agree with using them, or that they work even. It's a preference, and you find whatever one you're comfortable using. If you are going to use one, learn how to use it, learn any rules and how to do it correctly, and you're less likely to have anything bad come through. Try not to let your religious foundation of beliefs overshadow using logic in the moment to determine the accuracy or not, or have just a base level fear without being based in anything other than taught teachings on a topic, but no personal experience, or anybody that does have experience with it. Some of these, there is just an overt fear that's passed along through urban legends on how evil and bad they are and how terrible, and I would never mess with that, without understanding what it is and how they work and the rules of it. So yeah, you're more likely to have shit happen in that case. Duh. Yep, Tanya likes the runes, and she sent me a set of witch runes and regular runes, which is very cool, for my birthday last year. And so I do have those over at my little stand that I showed last night, or Friday night show, of what I keep out at all times. Yeah, using what works for you works. And And there was 3 knocks on my door one night, and my box told me not to answer it because there were thousands after me to join in with them. Huh. Well, though, and that's another fallacy, is the 3 knocks thing, is being evil or bad. You know, how do you knock on a door? When you go to knock, don't you go 3 knocks? When you knock on a door, it's how we're taught to knock. So 3 knocks is just a knock. It's not necessarily something terrible or bad. Now, if you're getting a message with it, sure, pay attention to it and listen. But I'm just saying that, you know, the whole idea that 3 knocks is in and of itself is evil or bad is not correct. It is how we're taught to knock. So wouldn't it make sense that a spirit is going to, you know, knock the same way or in communication as you're taught to knock? 3 knocks. That's how we do it. So doesn't mean anything terrible. Nobody was at your door that you could see, Renee. Nobody was at your door you could see. We only use it as I pick up the purse, then the box has said what I pick up. We do blind spirit box, so to show the skeptic that spirit's around. 3 knocks on wood is good luck. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, so it does come down to use whatever method is communicate, you know, it's comfortable to you to use. And if you're not comfortable, don't do it, but at least have a knowledge, a working knowledge to understand. Don't look at it in review of fear-based knowledge, which is not knowledge. You know, if you learn about it first and then you still have a fear of it, okay, fine, but don't be ignorantly fearful of something without having anything to base it on other than hearsay stories, which are full of shit most of the time, or people abusing or misusing it. Yes, Aaron, if you were here earlier on time, sweetheart, we covered dowsing rods earlier, but yes, they can be used. Yep, knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me. I remember that song, Tanya. Sheldon Cooper knocked 3 times and then repeated it 3 times. I don't find him evil. I don't know who Sheldon Cooper is. My guides to be fucking around with me constantly with spirit box. I don't trust it in general. Yeah, it's a personal preference of whatever you're comfortable with for communication. All tools of divination are used for communication, ultimately. So it's whatever form you're comfortable with using, but at least educate yourself on them before you go and use them so you can tell the rules, and also, you know, to have that understanding of what you're using, what you're doing with it. Christopher, I didn't know you were actually in on the show. You're hiding on me, hon. Oh, okay. I had to take my night meds. Yeah, I don't have cable, so I've never seen a Big Bang Theory. Yep, Tony Orlando and Dawn, stars of the 70s. So, anyways, yes, you can use dowsing rods to use for kind of divination as a tool for communication. And so if you're interested in that, either go look it up online or rewatch that part of the show that you missed and learn more. And yeah, but we did cover it back towards the beginning half of the show anyway. So there you have it, guys. That's the bulk of the different forms of divination tools out there, how they work, how you use them, and then, you know, again, go into looking at it and choosing what's right for you based on educational knowledge, having respect at all times in any tool you're using. Respect the tool and use it correctly. If there are rules to learn to go by for it, use them. You know, kind of all common sense stuff. So you're very welcome, Kim. Glad you joined us tonight. You're very welcome, Stacia. So next week's show from here forward for the week's schedule, if you will, so today's Monday, so I will next be on Friday in my Beyond the Veil page on Facebook and be doing readings in there. Then Sunday night, I will be on Goddesses and Devils with Miss Katie Kamara. And the topic is going to be tattoos and the meaning of them and how, one chooses them. Do they have any cultural meanings, etc., like personal meanings of them? And then back in here Monday night for Willows Bend again, 8 p.m. Eastern time for the Monday show, 8 p.m. for Beyond the Veil on Friday, on both on Facebook, then 9 p.m. for Goddesses and Devils. So just to specify Eastern Standard Time for all of the above. And so Monday I'm going to be doing the research for the mystical side of dragons and the views pertaining to all of that across different cultures and so forth, and how one could have them as a guide and how that all works in relation to past life experiences with a dragon, how all that plays out. So that's what I'm going to be covering next Monday night in here, and then we will resume our normal voting schedule. The mystical side of dragons is following on the heels pre-hand surgery on where I covered and presented dragons and the topic of dragons and how different cultures throughout time and history have viewed them. So that's what we're doing for that. So, yep, absolutely. Amanda had suggested that topic, Natalie, and we thought it was a pretty darn good one. So that's the schedule, guys. So talk slow. But you can always watch the replay if you happen to miss it, Stacia. So that's the schedule, guys. So next appearance on Facebook is on the Beyond the Veil page for readings, which is my personal page. There is also a Soma Fusion Facebook page one can go to with lots of different shows on it, covering lots of different topics. Not all of it's all metaphysical and spiritual in nature, but it is in support of women that, in a male-dominated society. But we love guys too, just like we love our Christopher. I have 2 different tattoos, Karen. So, and then Sunday night, Goddesses and Devils for tattoos. So thank you for tuning in to Soma Fusion Media Company for our shows. We love and appreciate all of our viewers across Facebook, YouTube, all the other social media sites, and the radio globally. So I wish you all a blessed night. Many blessings your way, and thank you for tuning in. And I will see you guys around probably Facebook land. One can always private message me on Facebook under Donna Hawk Who Walks the Land Gorton. The Hawk Who Walks the Land is all one, or Hawk is one word, Who Walks the Land is one run-on word because Facebook made it be that way, Gorton, in Messenger. If you have a question, comment, etc., or message me on my Beyond the Veil page if you have any questions, whatever. And otherwise, I will wish you all a blessed night and see you guys next time. Lots of love. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good night.